Imagine discovering that one man might have somehow survived for more than 300 years, a legendary explorer who ventured into literally the deadliest place on Earth and just never came back. Welcome to this explainer, where we're cracking open the ultimate cold case of the Hunter x Hunter universe. We're tracing the footsteps of a guy whose very existence could totally flip everything we thought we knew about this world. His name? Don Freecss. I mean, just think about that number for a second. 300 years. Try to wrap your head around one lone guy surviving for over 3 centuries in a place so incredibly hostile, it's repeatedly brought humanity to its knees. The Dark Continent isn't just dangerous, it's straight up Lovecraftian. You remember when former Chairman Isaac Netero went there? He basically said the sheer scale of the place was completely off the charts. It routinely slaughters heavily armed, super-trained expeditionary forces. So the idea of a single human surviving out there since, what, the 1700s in our time, it's almost impossible to comprehend.
To really get why there's so much dread surrounding this place, it actually helps to look at a real-world parallel. Yoshihiro Togashi draws a ton from real history, right? Back during the 19th century European exploration of Africa, this explorer named Henry Morton Stanley coined the phrase, the Dark Continent. He basically used it to build up this intense, mysterious allure, which, ultimately dehumanized the land and was used to justify colonial extraction. It painted the whole continent as this wild, untamed wilderness just begging to be conquered. And in Hunter x Hunter, that massive, unexplored expanse out beyond Lake Mobius, it serves a very similar allegorical purpose.
And much like those real-world colonial powers, the V6 nations in the Hunter world went all in. They launched these massive, state-sponsored expeditions right into the Dark Continent. We're talking incredibly bureaucratic, heavily armed extraction missions. Their goal wasn't just to look around and discover things. They wanted to conquer this new world and exploit all those massive natural resources, ancient ruins, and weird new foods. They basically walked into the Dark Continent with all the arrogance of an empire, totally convinced that their military and technological might could tame any wilderness. But, as we all know, those aggressive missions failed, catastrophically. The Dark Continent doesn't just push back against invaders, it actively, violently punishes them. The few survivors from these completely annihilated expeditions were actually forced by the gatekeepers to bring back these apocalyptic A-grade biological atrocities. We know them as the 5 threats or the calamities. I mean, we're talking about absolute horrors here. The immortality illness Sauve, that murderous snake Hellbell, the botanical weapon Brian, the human-keeping beast Pap, and that terrifying gaseous life form, I. They were quite literally sent back as a brutal warning to humanity, a message saying, stay away.
Section 1. The explorer who reached the impossible.
So while these massive state-funded armies were getting completely wiped off the map, one solitary figure took a totally different approach to the unknown. Over 3 centuries ago, Don Freecss traveled to the Dark Continent, and he did it completely alone. Instead of trying to conquer the place, he went on a solo mission just to explore and document the entire shoreline of Lake Mobius. He wrote down everything he saw in a traveler's journal he called Journey to the New World. Now, for centuries, all the academics back in the known world completely dismissed his book. They thought it was just the fictional ramblings of a total lunatic. But once those unofficial voyages started bringing back undeniable and terrifying proof of the calamities, yeah, Don's book suddenly became legendary. It became the ultimate and literally the only accurate survival guide to the Dark Continent. This massive, monumental journal was actually split into 2 comprehensive volumes. The East Edition is fiercely guarded by V6 authorities today, and they basically use it as the foundation for all their most critical risk assessments. But here's the kicker. The West Edition? It is completely missing. Like, vanished from known existence. Nobody has it. And honestly, this missing volume is the exact key that unlocks the entire mystery of Don Freecss.
So where on earth is it? Well, this missing book brings us right to Ging Freecss and his 3 theories. When Ging was breaking this down with Beyond Netero's expedition team, he laid out a few possibilities. Number 1, the book simply hasn't been found yet. Okay, fair enough. Number 2, Don's goal was just way too ambitious and the West Edition was never actually written. Or, number 3, and guys, this is the absolute mind-blowing proposition here. Don Freecss is still alive. He is out there right now on the Dark Continent, actively writing the West Edition as we speak.
Seriously, when we map out this timeline, the sheer scale of what we're dealing with is wild. Don departs 300 years ago. Decades later, the massive V6 expeditions fail and accidentally drag the calamities back with them. And now, flash forward to the present day, and that West volume is still mysteriously unfinished. The idea that any human could survive a 300-year gap in an environment that literally eats armies for breakfast, an environment where even a single nest of an A-grade threat has like 10,000 or more entities. Biologically speaking, it just sounds impossible.
Which brings us to the next part, Section 2, Surviving the Impossible.
Okay, so if we actually entertain Ging's theory here, we really have to ask the most important question. What exact biological mechanics make this kind of survival even possible? How does a normal guy avoid getting taken out by a disease like Zobei or crushed by a monster like Brian for 3 whole centuries? Well, the answer probably lies in the very resources the V5 nations were so desperately trying to steal. The Dark Continent is packed with miraculous items. We're talking about things like the herb for all illnesses, which, you guessed it, literally cures any disease. And then there's nitro rice, a food source that explicitly grants immense longevity. If you combine access to those crazy, life-extending resources with, say, some transcendent, hyper-advanced Nen mastery, Don Freecss basically has the perfect recipe to sustain himself through the centuries.
But, it's clearly not just about chowing down on some magical race. It's about a complete ecological mindset. Scholars who've really dug into this lore point out that Don Freecss perfectly represents the concept of the living archive. Instead of trying to build a base in claimed territory like those failed empires, Don chose continuous travel. He chose deep observation and absolute ecological adaptation. By doing that, he basically became a seamless part of the ecosystem. He's out there thriving exactly where extractive empires met their doom, just moving silently right through the shadows of the world's most dangerous beasts.
And honestly, his deep adaptation makes even more sense when we look at the hidden history of the Hunter x Hunter world. When you look at the ancient ruins and deciphered myths, they reveal a pretty stunning truth. The actual ancestors of humanity originally migrated from the Dark Continent down to the Lake Mobius Basin. So think about it. Humans aren't really alien invaders to the Dark Continent at all. They're actually returning to this primordial, terrifying homeland. In a way, Don Freecss isn't exploring some bizarre foreign planet. He's just readapting to humanity's original savage cradle.
Okay, and then we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the name. Don shares a surname with our main guy, Ging Freecss, and of course his father, Ging. Now, while it is still technically an unconfirmed mystery if they are directly biologically related, the thematic connection is absolutely undeniable. It teases this super tantalizing lineage that connects the unyielding curiosity of our heroes directly to the darkest, most ancient corners of the world. It really makes you wonder if that insane drive to explore is literally just woven right into their DNA.
Which brings us right to the ultimate question. If Don Freecss has actually conquered the Dark Continent, if he achieved this immense longevity, and if he's out there documenting the unknown, why hasn't he come back? Is he trapped? Has he evolved into something that transcends humanity altogether? Or is he just waiting out there in the dark after 300 years, holding on to answers to questions humanity was never even meant to ask? So what do you think? Is Don Freecss still out there surviving? Or has Hunter x Hunter been hiding an even bigger secret from us this whole time?